Почему ты меня не отметил? Хана Бейла. Я тебя не вижу. Она все там. На прошлой неделе? За прошлой неделю? Нет.
Okay, I have it. If you want to pick it up before, I have it. Check. I'm sorry. Okay. So I'll have it with me tomorrow. I'll be not here tomorrow. So, okay. Okay. Anyone going back to the dorm here straight from school?
Yeah, I am.
Who's are you? Can I give this to you?
Sure.
Thank you. This festival.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. She leaves at 4, so hopefully we're gonna tell her before she leaves.
What did you say?
She leaves at 4.
Okay, so I'll push her before she goes out.
Okay. So we're doing a new Mishnah. Who doesn't have any of the sheets? Okay, I have a few. How much I need? There's 5 more sets of sheets.
Oh, it's.
We're in chapter 2. Those of you who have chapter 2, we're on page 15.
Is there a stapler here? Any chance? No stapler.
Okay. So we're starting a new Mishnah. The sheets that I just gave out doesn't have the new Mishnah, so I'll just read it clearly, and then we're going to go straight to the sheets anyway. So the new Mishnah here is Mishnah 12. And we're going to do the first line of the new Mishnah, just one line. And it says, Rabbi Majeski says, okay, we'll actually do the whole thing, it's small. Let your friend's money be as precious to you as your own. That's one statement. In Pirkei Avos, you usually have a collection of statements, not necessarily a continuation or they depend one on another. It's just different statements that are important. So one is your friend's money should be as precious to you as your own money. The second statement is discipline yourself to study Torah, for you don't gain it by inheritance. Torah is not an inheritance. If you don't work on it, you won't be able to achieve. The third statement is that all your actions should be for the sake of heaven. So first, we'll focus on the first statement, which is that your money should be, other people's money should be precious to you as your own. So, generally speaking, there's a whole section in Torah which talks about, deals with money issues. In fact, we know that Aseret Adibros, the 10 Commandments, is divided into two parts. One part is called Bein Adam Lamokim, meaning this is between man and God, like keeping Shabbos, believing in God, not worshiping idols. These are commandments that they're between man and God. Then there are commandments that are called Bein Adam Lachaveiro, between man and fellow man, which is mitzvahs like do not steal, do not kill, do not commit adultery. This is all about interpersonal relationships. So, of course, there are 613 commandments. There are tens of thousands of details. But the 10 commandments, that's sort of the general part of Torah that includes everything. But naturally, if these are the 10 that were given at Mount Sinai openly and loudly, obviously these are the most sort of critical of all, and they include everything. In fact, it's interesting that Rashi in the Chumash says that one of the places we can see how these 10 include everything, if you count the letters, there's 620 letters in the 10 Commandments. You would expect me to say 613, but we always say something that you don't expect to hear. So here it is again. Why 620? Because there's 613 commandments, and then there are 7 mitzvahs, the Rabbanim, 7 commandments which the rabbis issued. In other words, a commandment like observing Hanukkah, observing Purim, and washing hands before bread. There are 7 of those commandments, and altogether there's 620. What does this represent? That these 10 include everything. So one of the 10 is do not steal. That's what you would think, but the truth is, it's a little bit different. Yes.
There are only 7 rabbinic laws. Why did I think there was only
Now there are 770 altogether.
a little more than 7?
No,
So what do you mean?
there are thousands of details, but 7 mitzvahs, a command. In other words, there are things that you're not allowed to do. Let's say you're not allowed to handle money on Shabbos. Those are prohibitions, things that they set up to prevent us from committing a sin. But then there are 7 positive commandments, like the holiday of Hanukkah. That came over 1,000 years after the Torah was given, and there was a big miracle, so the rabbis instituted this holiday. Purim also came 1,000 years later, so the rabbis instituted, these were rabbis, prophets, and they instituted the holiday. So there are 7 of those mitzvahs. One of them is washing hands before bread, also came from the rabbis. Altogether, there are 7 of those. But in terms of what the rabbis instituted, there are a lot of details, much more. Yeah.
So you're saying that also like the Asher local, like the 10 Commandments, within them, that's how you find the 613. Like,
They're all included there, right? Right. There's actually a Torah book that he writes more clearly how each one of the 613 are branches of which one of the 10.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see how he connects. They're all branches that they extend from these 10. Yeah.
So you said that, did you say that there were 770 like total rabbinic laws?
When I said 770, no, that was a joke. I'm
Was it
sorry.
joke?
I have the same book. I will now be making a joke. Okay. But this is serious.
There's probably much more than 613.
Right. So in the 10 Commandments, when it says do not steal, it means something else. It actually means do not steal, means do not kidnap. That is punishable by death. Kidnapping a human being is something much more severe. But here we're talking about money, that the Torah says you're not allowed to steal other people's money. And there are two places in the Torah. One is number 2, and one is number 3 on this sheet. One reads in Hebrew, lo tiknovu, do not steal. And the other one says, lo tigzo. Now, I'm not sure in the English language, or it could be even in English, there's a difference between stealing and robbing. But I'll tell you what the difference is in halach, in Jewish law. Stealing is when you steal money. The first one, number 2, is when you steal money from a person without their knowledge, which means you find a way to get hold of their possession and take it away from them. The second one, which is called gezela or tigzo, that is taking money away from a person or possession by force in their presence, like armed robbery. And if I'm not mistaken, in English, it could be the difference between theft and robbery also is the same thing. Theft is taking somebody's money without their knowledge, and robbery is when it's like an armed attack. There's a difference also in halacha, interesting difference, that when a person steals money, which means they do it without the owner's knowledge, naturally, if they're caught, they have to return whatever. First of all, even if they're not caught, if they want to ask Hashem for forgiveness, they're not forgiven until they give the money back, whatever they took away. But in the first case, they have to pay double. If they stole $100, they have to pay $200. If they stole $200, they have to pay $400. In the other case, they don't. And what's the difference? It's an interesting thing that we find in the Gemara, in the Talmud, that explains as follows. When a person steals money from another person, in a sense, they're doing something against another person, and they're doing something against Hashem. Hashem told us not to steal. So when a person is so brazen that in open daylight they can attack someone, take away their money, that basically means that they just don't care. They want their money and they'll do anything to get it. When a person goes at night and finds a way to get into someone's house and steal money, that means they're afraid of being caught. And they're not afraid of the fact that Hashem is watching them. It's a sort of an act that demonstrates, I don't care about the fact that Hashem is watching me. So in some way, doing it quietly is a stronger demonstration of dismissing Hashem's commandment. And therefore, there's a double punishment. So again, in both cases, it's prohibited. And prohibited means you're not allowed, there's no amount, which means if somebody says, well, it's only a nickel. According to Torah, there's no difference whether it's a nickel, a dime, $1,000, or a penny. Taking even 1 cent from another person, if it doesn't belong to me, is considered stealing. Now, I must tell you that I put this down on the page. You have 10 lines here, but the laws that pertain to money issues is an entire volume in the Jewish Code of Law with hundreds of pages and thousands of details, what, when, where, how, and we'll cover a little bit of, just highlight outline a little bit what are the laws that are involved with respecting other people's possession. But I want to give an example of something which is maybe not so much known, that even if I have in mind to return, this could especially apply to a wonderful place like a dormitory. So you're all living in the same building and someone left one of their items open and I want to use it. I go out, I take someone's umbrella and I use it. So if you have a close relationship with that person and you know as a fact that they don't care, it's fine. But if it's not that, even if I take it with the intention to give it back, it's considered stealing. I have to ask permission before I take someone else's possession. And that's besides the fact that very often you take something with the intention to give it back, and strange enough, it makes a one-way trip. Never makes it back. You forget about it, you put it down somewhere. So, but besides the fact, even if I would surely put it back, I'm not allowed to take or use someone else's possession unless I ask permission. Unless it's someone that you have, like I said, a close relationship, and you know that we each don't care about using our pens, pencils, our umbrellas, or whatever it is. What about if I take it away just to play a joke on this person? They go, they think they lost it, then I'll show them that I put it away. You're not allowed to. In fact, even if you do it to teach them a lesson, I'm giving you an example. If someone leaves their wallet, their purse out in the open, and you keep telling them it's not a good idea, it'll get stolen. And they keep doing it. So you say to yourself, I'm going to teach them a lesson. I'll take it away, I'll hide it. They'll think it's stolen. They'll be all upset about it, but then they'll realize, I'll come to them and say, here, I took it, I just did it to teach you a lesson. Don't leave your purse out in the open. You're not allowed to. It's the other person's money, and I can do with it whatever I feel like doing. Yeah.
I'm curious, when you see people like leave things out on the sidewalk, sometimes, like how, we're obviously allowed to pick things up from the side of the road that somebody has left there.
Right. If it's in a place where it's obvious that this person just left it, we call it hefker, left it for anyone to take, then I can pick it up and take it. It's not, that means they're disowning it. Another example is, I'm sure everybody in this room heard of Robin Hood. Is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Good guy.
I don't want to judge him now, but just for the sake of discussion.
Well, halachically, I guess he's a bad guy.
But that's what I want to say. Are you allowed to steal from the rich to give to the poor? And imagine, try to. Now we're going to have an argument whether it's Batman or Superman or it's Robin Hood.
I know, I'm like, Robin Hood. Like, why does Rabbi Majeski know who Robin Hood is? And I don't?
I'm older than you. It was in my times.
No, he's from Disney?
I don't know if it's a real person or it's a Baba myself. I don't know if it's a fairy tale or if it's a true story. But every kid grows up here with the story of a person that stole money from the rich to give to the poor. And it sounds like he's doing something very noble. But according to halacha, according to Torah, you're not allowed to do it. Imagine
you steal it back. Like, what if you saw a robber take your friend's purse and then you see the robber later and you grab it from the robber maybe a week later now that it's been his for a week? Is that okay? Can you steal something back?
You're just stealing it to take yourself or give it back to the owner. No, give it back, you're allowed to, of course. Yeah.
So that's also might be part of the Robin Hood story, because really the king stole for the people, so Robin Hood's stealing it back for the people.
Could be. We needed 3 rabbis to make a decision here. Yeah. Yes.
You said you could take your friend's umbrella if you know that she won't care that you took it.
Yeah.
So can you like take something for the prank if you know that your friend will find it funny?
I don't know, because sometimes you don't really know they find it funny. They might be smiling, but inside they might be resentful. So that you can't know. But think of it, and this is something which is in Torah, because logically it might not even make sense. You have someone like Bill Gates who has, I don't know, 80, 90 billion dollars. You have a next door neighbor that's suffering. She has a few children, no money for rent, no money for food, everybody's starving. What's the big deal if I take a few dollars out of Bill Gates's account? And it won't even make any dent. He wouldn't have no idea. It makes no difference to him. And to this person, it'll really make a difference. Why shouldn't it be allowed to? But that's the halach. I'm not allowed to put my hand in someone else's pocket and take their money.
But the concept is that they're supposed to be giving away 10% of their money anyway.
But that is their responsibility.
Right, but
not
like,
mine.
they're both bad.
You know, like this fundraiser once came to speak to a group of philanthropists and said, I have good news and bad news. The good news is all the money that I need to support my organization is here. The bad news is it's in your pocket.
Sounds like something a
Yes. How do I transfer it from your pocket to my pocket? But it has to be transferred with consent, with permission. Yes.
What if, it's kind of funny, but what if you have a sister who lets you use all her stuff and you take her stuff, but she doesn't, like, you keep some of the stuff and you just don't return everything?
You're talking about a sibling, a sister?
Sister, yeah. And
Yeah.
she's okay with you using her stuff, but you take it and you don't return it. Is that considered?
So it goes into the same category. If it's the kind of relationship that, okay, big deal, take it, use it. If she really minds, even though it's a sister, it's still, it's her stuff. It still applies. So you gotta be careful.
So it is considered.
If it's something that she really doesn't want you to take away, right?
And she wants it back.
But if it's not, and you take it and don't give it back, it's okay.
And she wants it back,
No, let's say she doesn't really like care about it.
then it's okay. Again, it's like two friends who just don't care. Yeah. So again, there are a lot of halachas and a lot of questions, but the principle here is that other people's money I have to respect, and I'm not allowed to take anything for myself without their permission. And of course, even if a person says, I'm going to use the money for tzedakah, I'll use it for good things, none of this makes any difference. It's that person's money, and they are totally the one, they're in charge. And if there's anything to do with it, they have to make the decision. I can't make a decision for someone else's money, what to do with it. The first line where it says other people's money should be precious to you as yours, that goes a step further. It means even in a case where, according to halacha, you might not be required to go so far as to protect someone else's money or to do something else for another person financially. But I say to myself, if this would have been mine, for example, again, I'm not giving any halachic rulings here, but just as a general example, imagine there's someone's possession somewhere and there's a flood. And you see that the water is coming close, and if the water goes to that spot, this person's articles, object will be totally ruined. You could say to yourself, why bother? Or you could say to yourself, this would have been mine, I would have ran over, take it and move it to another spot, put it up somewhere higher that the water doesn't get to it. So maybe halachically I'm not responsible to do that, but if I go by this principle that go beyond the letter of the law, and other people's money should be precious to me like my own, I should go out of my way to protect them from having a loss.
So that also applies, like if you see someone getting like robbed and you like think you can do something to like stop it.
Unless if it's your life.
If someone's being robbed, that's a little bit more serious
Well, not like
because,
armed robbery, but mistake.
well, if it's not armed robbery, anybody that's robbing someone else usually could be using violence, and violence could be something dangerous. And in that case, there is actually a pasuk in the Chumash, we had that in Pirkei Avos before, that you are obligated to get involved. In other words, if you can help, you don't have to get beaten up. You have to do something to save them, whether it's calling the police, running to get help, doing something to, if you can, to save their life. And if I could, and I don't do it, in some ways, I'm responsible. Someone's, God forbid, drowning, I can't swim, but I could run to get help. Or I could do something to get help. There's a fire burning. If I can do something to get help and I don't because it's not my problem, according to Torah, that's not true. But if it's someone's money being lost, it's a different category. Number 4 is referring to a judge in the courtroom. There's a Jewish court of rabbis, and they're supposed to judge people when it comes to conflicts that they have in business or any kind of money issues, a landlord and a tenant, 2 partners in a business, a merchant and someone who bought something from this person. And there are questions, who does the money belong to? Me, him? So the judge sits down and takes a look, what are we dealing with? They're fighting over 75 cents. You say to yourself, I'm not going to go crazy over 75 cents. Like, I won't make such a big effort to do all the research and to listen to all the arguments and to listen to all the testimony. I'm going to give a ruling 1, 2, 3 because it's a joke, 75 cents. So these words mean no. A judge in court has to pertain, and I don't think the English here is correct, but it means the attention should be given to 1 penny, the same as the laws and the attention that's been given to $100. In other words, halacha makes no difference. Even if 2 people are arguing over a penny, I have to take it as serious, because if I rule that this penny belongs to the other person and it's not really the correct ruling, I'm the one that's stealing money from this person, giving it to that person.
Rabbi Majeski?
Yes.
Why does it say your friend's money, and do not withhold your friend's money? Why not just say other people's money should be as precious to you as your own, or do not withhold other people's money? Like, Did it specifically?
It's the term that's used in the Chumash. I mean, like it says, love your friend. Like it always uses these terms when it talks about another person.
It always, so it just assumes.
I don't know if it means friend. It just means another person. It's another way of saying it. Yeah. Number five. Number five is another form of stealing, which is not outright going into someone else's pocket and taking their money or taking something that belongs to them. But this applies more to business. Let's say, do not cheat, which means in business, lying in business, which would mean that something is really worth $10 and you see this person doesn't get it, so I'll charge them $100. They think that they're getting an honest price for an honest article, or they think they're buying something new and you're selling them something used. Things that you do in business which are really cheating the other person. In fact, there's a whole section in Torah. What?
Kind of like in the shop, they overprice everything.
It's overpricing everything, like that. Everyone's considered cheating.
I mean, every merchant is allowed to give their own price, but it means something which is beyond, and also where you're fooling people. People think that it's really something else, and you're lying to them because you're pretending that this is something which is. I mean, imagine you're selling somebody jewelry which is not real jewelry for the same price as if it was real jewelry. So they're paying you $1,000 when it costs $35.
But if you never like technically say that it's like real jewelry, you're just like.
Okay, so there's all these little details, but in general, that's considered cheating. That's considered you're taking other people's money, not in an honest way. Yeah.
What if you're selling something and like you let the buyer name a price first and they offer you more, like a lot more than you would have asked for if you said the price first?
It's their choice, unless you lie to them about the quality of what you're selling. That's something else.
Does that work for like employers to employees too, like for wages?
Wages?
Yeah, like if like,
You could be cheating an employee, of course.
like if like I don't know, like an example would be like if you're from an area where like the minimum wage is like $7 and you move here and you're like, and they're like, I'll give you $10. You're like, wow, that's amazing. But like obviously that's not like the market rate or like the legal thing.
Well, it's a little bit different when a person agrees to a certain price.
Well, like if you know it's without the understanding of like.
Again, so that all
like, what
depends on the
market rate
situation.
is.
Right, if they think if you're lying to them in one way or another about the market price, then it's cheating. But if they agree because they're just desperate for money, I don't care how much you pay me, I need some money. But if a person, let's say, hires someone and doesn't pay them what they promised to pay them, that's also cheating.
So other times for like if like two employees are doing like the same job and like the new hire like agreed to like a lower rate because they didn't know. It's like the same.
Again, if they agreed for the rate, then that's okay. Again, I'm not giving a halachic ruling, so please don't call me to the Beth Din tomorrow. But
Rabbi Majeski,
yes,
we're going to move on to the next one just really quick. So in regards to the making profit, how is it that like what's the appropriate level or what's an acceptable level that you can sell something with making profit if you're not able to sell it more for how much you.
again, I'm not totally familiar with these halachas because there are rabbis who they study these laws specifically, but a lot of these laws depend on the market and the country that you live in. Depends, each country is different and goes by this has nothing to do with the Jewish and not Jewish. What's the story in the market? What do people mean when they buy things? What do people assume when they buy things? And we go by that halachically. So again, if there's something practical that one would need to know, they would probably have to consult a Rav, because these are halachas that unless you study them specifically, most of us know these halachas in a very general way. And unless you study them specifically, we're not going to be, most people are not familiar with all the details of these halachas. It's an entire section in the Shulchan Aruch called Choshen Mishpat. It's a whole section on money issues. Yeah. Sorry. I'd like to be that rabbi, but what can you do? Number 6. No, we don't have enough time to go into number 6. Number 6, in other words, whatever I wrote here is just different forms, different categories of how I could be taking away someone's money. And number 6 means do not withhold. I'll continue Mirza Hashem tomorrow, but the general idea is that this is a different kind of a scenario. It's a scenario where I got the other person's money with permission, but I'm not returning it. For example, someone gave me a loan. Or for example, someone gave me something that I should hold it for them. I'm going on a trip. Could you hold this box for me that has $5,000 in it? So I got it with their permission, but then I chose not to return it. That's also another form of stealing. To be continued. Okay.
What if someone bought you something and you didn't ask for it, but they expect you to pay them back?
I'm not obligated.
I was thinking about that.
As funny as it sounds, I know people who did that. You're not obligated.
Like this, my mom would be like, yeah. Like, wow, thanks.
If you gave them your word that you're going to pay them, pick this up for me and I'll pay you, that's a different story.
Yeah, no,
But if they picked it up, assuming that you're going to pay them, thank you.
Rabbi Majeski, I had a question like totally unrelated to this, but someone gave me a picture of the Rebbe, like a little picture for my wallet, and I put it in a box, and I put the box under my bed, and like, you know, I